Today I want to talk about how to get press as a musician. So I'm gearing up to release a new record and I'm in the thick of it, and I figured I may as well share some of the things that I'm learning along the way. For this release, I'm lucky to be working with a record label that has a press team, and I've been picking up a lot of great insights as we go through the process. And one thing that I've taken away is that we can do this on our own with some decent organizational skills and a good amount of perseverance. For my last record, which I self-released, I took care of all of the promotion myself, which is what most indie artists do. But press was a big part of the campaign, which falls under the broader umbrella of public relations, or PR. But PR is a huge topic, too much to cover in one go, so today we'll stick to press specifically, which in its simplest definition is reaching out to media outlets like blogs, podcasts, YouTube influencers, and tastemakers to get them talking about your latest release or announcement. Here are the benefits of doing your own press. It's free. You can manage it yourself. It's a solid way to build genuine music industry relationships, and you can get your music in front of new audiences. So let's dive in. First, we need a press kit, more commonly known as an EPK or electronic press kit. There are a ton of resources online that talk about what goes into and how to put together an EPK, as well as dedicated services just for EPKs. So for this video, I'm going to keep it simple and use free resources whenever possible, just like I did with my last release. So let's break down the elements of an EPK. An EPK consists of 3 to 7 high-quality images in both landscape and portrait. This is a great time to hit up your photographer friends. Upload them to a Google Drive or Dropbox for easy sharing. Never send attachments. If your music is unreleased, create a separate Google Drive or Dropbox folder, or create a private Bandcamp or SoundCloud link. There are even platforms like Disco created specifically for this purpose, and the point here, again, is don't send attachments. A press release. Press releases have a pretty standard formula, and there are plenty of templates online, so again, I'll just keep this simple. Here are the standard components in order. A header, like band announces new record, with maybe a subtitle, something that draws the reader in. A main section. I like to think of this as my artist statement, with the goal being to pinpoint what makes my release or announcement unique. Include all of the interesting aspects of your release, the how, why, where you wrote it, where you recorded it, any recognizable collaborators. It's really dependent on you and your work, and I like to keep this to a couple paragraphs. A bio. I'm not really a writer, and I hate to write about myself in third person, so I'll usually take the first stab at something and then I'll reach out to my friends who are writers for some help. And I'm always so surprised at how much better my bio or press release is when someone with some skills is involved. Which means this could be a really good time to spend some money, if you have it, to reach out to an actual music writer to do it for you. A last note on this is to keep it to a couple paragraphs, unless it's really necessary to go longer to tell your story. It's customary to put in a quote or two, and if you've got press, definitely pop them in. It may make it easier for a journalist to say yes if their peers have already said yes. Make sure you have your contact info and social links. And consider including some highlights of key stats like social followers, monthly listeners, total streams, any major venues or festivals played, and notable collaborators, as I mentioned earlier. The key with all of this is to start with what you have and update as you grow. Once your EPK is ready to go, it's time to do some research to find the best people to send it to. Here's how I go about it. I know the genre and scene that my music fits into really well, and I'm sure you know yours too. And as some artists are more active than others in any scene, I start by making a list of working artists in my genre, ones that are putting out records, touring, getting reviews, and doing interviews. From there, I'll search news, interviews, and reviews for those artists. This will help me find blogs, publications, podcasts, and influencers who are covering them and my genre. You can even get creative and reach out beyond the traditional music press. Are there any outlets that resonate with your fans but focus on different topics? Or does your story or music connect with a specific audience? As far as contacting writers and publications, many outlets provide specific submission instructions. But if they don't, you can usually find an email address or social profile with a little sleuthing. As I start to collect all of this information, it's important to keep track of it. And for some of us, this is the most difficult part of the entire process. I use a simple Google spreadsheet to track names, links, contact information, and even articles that I liked in case I want to mention it in my introduction. This tool is invaluable for managing the details of my press campaign, and although it takes effort, consistency, and some organizational skills, it's definitely worth it. Okay, now that I have a decent list put together, it's time to start sending out emails. So what do I send? I send an email with my press release pasted in, links to both the music and photo folders that I mentioned earlier, and a brief introduction that looks something like this. Hey, my name is Matt, and I make music as Francis Morning. I recently released my first EP, Brief Glimpses, featuring 7 instrumental ambient tracks recorded live to cassette. I'd be honored if you would consider it for review. Please see the press release and links below. Thanks so much for the work you do. Best, Matt. I also make a note in my spreadsheet so I can keep track of who I've emailed, who's responded, and who may need a follow-up in a couple weeks. And that's it. Then I wait, keep researching, keep sending, and keep tracking. As I do this, I try to remind myself that music writers are busy people, and some won't have time to respond. That's okay. Don't let it get you down. But when you do get press, make the most of it. Share it on your socials, and be sure to tag the writer and the publication. Showing your appreciation can increase your chances of getting future coverage. And getting press shows other outlets that you're worth covering. Labels, managers, and talent buyers love it as well. Finally, although press is a valuable tool, it's not quite the game changer that it once was. It's better to think of it as a third-party validation that you can share on socials and with music industry contacts to show momentum. Rather than relying on press alone, use it as part of your strategy to grow your presence and audience. And like most things in our industry, getting press is not a one-time effort. It's about persistence. Building solid relationships takes time. And over time, those connections will pay off, and you'll start to see your music getting the attention that it deserves.